Emperor Vexithron stood alone in his throne room, staring out at the stars through a massive window. The throne behind him was made of black metal and decorated with the bones of conquered enemies. For 50,000 years, his ancestors had sat on this throne and ruled through fear and strength. Tonight, for the first time, the emperor wondered if they had been wrong. The door to the throne room opened, and General Kazathul entered. He was the emperor's oldest advisor, a massive Cathara with scars covering his dark scales. His yellow eyes burned with anger as he approached the throne. "My emperor," the general said, his voice like grinding stone. "The fleet commanders are asking questions. They want to know why you have not destroyed the human ship. They want to know why you allowed the prisoners on Zephyr Prime to be helped by outsiders. Some are beginning to whisper that you have grown weak." The emperor turned slowly to face his advisor. "Tell me, Kazthul, what makes a predator strong?" The general looked confused by the question. "Size, my emperor. Sharp claws and teeth. The ability to kill quickly and without mercy. The willingness to take what you want and destroy what opposes you." "And what happens when that predator grows old?" the emperor asked. "What happens when a younger, stronger predator appears?" "The old predator dies," the general replied. "This is the way of nature." The emperor walked to his throne but did not sit down. Instead, he placed one massive claw on the armrest made from the skull of an ancient enemy. "I have been thinking about the humans, Kazthul. They are small and weak. They have no natural weapons. By every law of nature, they should be prey for creatures like us. Yes, my emperor, which is why we should destroy them and take their ship." "But they are not prey," the emperor said quietly. "They are something else entirely. Something I have never encountered in all my years of conquest." The general's bioluminescent patches flashed with impatience. "What are they, then?" "They are guardians," the emperor replied. "They use their strength to protect others instead of destroying them. They choose to help instead of hurt. They have found a way to be strong without making others weak." General Kazthul stepped closer to the throne. "My emperor, with respect, you sound like you admire these creatures. They are just another species to be conquered. Their strange behavior means nothing." The emperor looked at his old friend and advisor. They had conquered worlds together. They had stood side by side in 1,000 battles. But now, for the first time, the emperor saw something in the general's eyes that troubled him. "Kazthul," the emperor said slowly, "when was the last time you felt joy?" The general's head tilted in confusion. "Joy, my emperor?" "Happiness, satisfaction, pleasure in something other than victory or destruction." The general thought for a long moment. "I do not understand the question, my emperor. Warriors feel satisfaction when they win battles. We feel pleasure when we conquer new worlds. What other joy is there?" The emperor nodded sadly. "That is what I thought you would say. That is what I would have said yesterday. But today, I watched. The humans helped people they had never met. I saw them risk their own safety to heal the wounded and comfort the frightened. And do you know what I saw in their faces?" "No, my emperor." "Joy," the emperor said. "Pure, genuine happiness that came from helping others. They were not happy because they had defeated an enemy or taken something they wanted. They were happy because they had used their power to make other beings feel better." The general's patches flashed with alarm. "My emperor, surely you are not suggesting that we should help our enemies, that we should give up conquest and become, what, servants to the weak?" "No, Kazathul," the emperor said, finally sitting down on his throne. "I am suggesting that we have been thinking about strength in the wrong way. True strength is not the ability to destroy. True strength is the choice of what to do with your power." Before the general could respond, a communication officer entered the throne room. "My Emperor, the human ship is requesting permission to speak with you." "Put them through," the Emperor commanded. The main screen in the throne room activated, showing Captain Jake Morrison on the bridge of his ship. The human looked tired, but determined. "Emperor Vex Thran," Jake said with his usual calm voice. "I want to thank you for allowing us to help the people of Zephyr Prime. We have finished our work there. The wounded have been treated, and the basic systems in their cities are working again." "Why do you thank me?" the Emperor asked. "You gained nothing from this effort." Jake smiled. "We gained the chance to prove that strength and kindness can work together. We gained new friends among the Zephyrian people. And we gained the hope that maybe the galaxy does not have to be ruled by fear anymore." The Emperor leaned forward in his throne. "Captain Morrison, I have a question for you. If you could remake the galaxy, what would you change?" "I would want every species to be free to grow and learn and explore," Jake replied without hesitation. "I would want the strong to protect the weak instead of ruling them. I would want children of all species to grow up without being afraid of strangers from other worlds. And what role would the Cathara play in this galaxy you imagine?" Jake was quiet for a moment, thinking carefully. "The Cathara are the strongest species in the galaxy. With that strength, you could be the greatest protectors the universe has ever known. Instead of being feared as destroyers, you could be honored as guardians." The Emperor stood up from his throne. General Kazathul stepped back in surprise. Never, in the history of the Cathara Empire, had an emperor left his throne during a formal communication. "Open a channel to the entire fleet," the Emperor commanded. "My Emperor," the general whispered urgently. "What are you doing?" "Something that should have been done long ago," the Emperor replied. The communication officer activated the fleet-wide broadcast. Suddenly, every ship in the Cathara Armada could see and hear their Emperor. Thousands of Cathara warriors stopped what they were doing to listen. "Warriors of the Cathara Empire," the Emperor began, his voice carrying across space to reach every member of his fleet. "For 50,000 years, we have ruled this galaxy through fear and conquest. We have taken what we wanted and destroyed what opposed us. We believed this made us strong." Confused murmurs could be heard from ships across the fleet. "Today I have learned that there is a strength greater than the power to destroy," the Emperor continued. "I have learned that the greatest predators are not those who rule through fear, but those who choose to protect instead of conquer." General Kazthul grabbed the Emperor's arm. "My Emperor, please, think about what you are doing. The fleet will never accept this." The Emperor gently removed the general's hand from his arm. Then, in a gesture that shocked every watching Kithara, Emperor Vex Thran the Destroyer bowed his head toward the human ship. "Captain Jake Morrison," the Emperor said formally, "I pledge the strength of the Cathara Empire to your vision of protection and peace. We will no longer be conquerors. We will be guardians of the innocent and protectors of the weak." The bridge of the human ship fell silent. Jake Morrison stared at the screen, hardly believing what he was seeing. The most feared being in the galaxy was bowing to a human exploration vessel. "Emperor," Jake said softly, "you honor us more than you know." The Emperor raised his head and smiled, showing his sharp teeth in an expression that somehow looked gentle instead of threatening. "No, Captain Morrison. You have honored us by showing us what true strength looks like." Across the Cathara fleet, thousands of warriors watched their Emperor's declaration. Some were confused, some were angry, but many felt something they had never experienced before: hope for a different kind of future. Dr. Lisa Parker wiped tears from her eyes as she watched the most powerful predator in the galaxy choose compassion over conquest. And somewhere in the distant stars, a distress signal was broadcasting from a small colony under attack by pirates. Soon, both human and Kythera ships would answer that call together, beginning a new chapter in galactic history. Emperor Vex Thrawn led the humans to a massive viewing chamber aboard his flagship. Through the transparent walls, they could see a planet below them. The world was covered in cities that stretched across continents, but many of the buildings were broken and burning. Ships moved back and forth between the planet and the Kythera fleet, carrying cargo and prisoners. "This is Zephyr Prime," the Emperor said, his voice filled with pride. "We conquered it 3 days ago. The people there thought they could resist us with their weapons and their walls. They learned they were wrong." Captain Jake Morrison looked down at the planet and felt his heart grow heavy. Even from space, he could see the destruction. Entire cities had been reduced to rubble. Smoke rose from 100 different fires across the world's surface. "How many people lived there?" "Doctor," Lisa Parker asked quietly. 2 billion of the Zephyrians," the Emperor replied. "Now 500 million remain. The rest chose death over surrender. It was their choice." Security Chief Dana White stepped closer to the window, her hands pressed against the transparent metal as she watched ships bringing prisoners up from the planet below. "What will happen to the survivors?" "They will serve the Kythera Empire," the Emperor said. "They will work in our mines and factories. They will build ships for our fleet. Their children will grow up knowing that the Kythera are their masters. This is how we create order in the galaxy." The Emperor turned to face Jake Morrison. His yellow eyes glowed with anticipation. "This is the final test, human. You have shown cleverness and strange courage, but now you must face the reality of power. Look upon what true strength accomplishes. See how the galaxy bows to those who are willing to do what must be done." Jake stared down at the ruined world for a long moment. The Emperor expected him to either submit in fear or rage helplessly at the display of Kythera might. Instead, Jake turned away from the window and looked directly at the Emperor. "I need to go down to the planet," Jake said calmly. The Emperor's head tilted in confusion. "Why? To see our victory more closely? To understand the price of defying the Kythera?" "To help," Jake said simply. "Help who?" the Emperor asked. "Anyone who needs it." Within an hour, a Kythera transport ship carried the human crew down to the surface of Zephyr Prime. The Emperor came with them, along with a dozen guards. He wanted to see what the humans would do when faced with the aftermath of conquest. Mainau. Transport landed in what had once been a beautiful city square. Now the ground was covered with rubble from destroyed buildings. The air smelled of smoke and death. Zephyrian survivors moved through the wreckage like ghosts, searching for family members or anything they could use to survive. The Zephyrians looked like tall, thin humans, but with pale blue skin and large silver eyes. Their clothes were torn and dirty. Many were injured, with cuts and burns that had not been treated. When they saw the Kythera guards, they moved away quickly, keeping their heads down in fear. Jake Morrison walked into the middle of the square and looked around. Then he did something that made everyone stare. He knelt down beside a young Zephyrian child who was crying over the body of an adult. The child looked up with frightened silver eyes, expecting the human to hurt her. Instead, Jake gently touched her shoulder and spoke in a soft voice. "I am sorry for your loss," he said. The translation device made his words understandable to the Zephyrian child. "You are not alone." Dr. Lisa Parker opened the medical kit she had brought from their ship. She began treating wounded Zephyrians, cleaning their cuts and bandaging their injuries. She worked quickly and efficiently, moving from person to person without caring if they could pay her or help her in return. Chief Engineer Sam Rodriguez started examining the damaged buildings. He pulled out tools and began repairing broken water pipes and electrical systems. When Zephyrians saw what he was doing, they began to help, showing him where the most important repairs were needed. Security Chief Dana White organized the survivors, helping them find safe places to sleep and clean water to drink. She used her training to identify the most urgent needs and coordinate efforts to meet them. The Emperor watched all of this with growing confusion. His guards whispered among themselves, their bioluminescent patches flashing with uncertain patterns. This was not what they expected to see. "Why are you doing this?" the Emperor finally asked Jake. "These people are defeated enemies. They have nothing to offer you. They cannot help you or reward you. Why do you waste time and resources on them?" Jake looked up from where he was helping an elderly Zephyrian man walk to a safe shelter. "Because they need help," he said, as if the answer was obvious. "But they are not your people," the Emperor pressed. "They are not even your species. What do you gain from this?" "We gain the knowledge that we used our strength to protect instead of destroy," Jake replied. "We gain the understanding that we made the galaxy a little bit better instead of worse." A young Zephyrian woman approached them carefully. She had been watching the humans work for hours. Her silver eyes were filled with tears, but also with something the Emperor had never seen in the eyes of a conquered people. Hope. "Why do you help us?" she asked Jake in broken universal language. "The metal-scaled ones destroy. You could destroy too. Why do you choose different?" Jake smiled at her. "Because someone has to choose different. Someone has to show that being strong does not mean hurting others. Someone has to prove that the powerful can protect the weak instead of ruling them." The Emperor stepped closer. "And what if everyone made this choice? What if every strong species in the galaxy decided to protect instead of conquer? What would happen then?" "Then maybe there would be no more ruined cities," Jake said, gesturing to the destruction around them. "Maybe there would be no more children crying over dead parents. Maybe the galaxy would be full of friends working together instead of masters and slaves." Dr. Lisa Parker finished treating a wounded Zephyrian and walked over to join the conversation. "Emperor, may I ask you something?" The massive alien nodded. "Do you have children?" she asked. "I have offspring, yes," the Emperor replied. "3 sons who will inherit my empire." "What kind of galaxy do you want them to inherit?" Lisa asked. "One where everyone fears and hates them? One where they can never have real friends because everyone around them is either a slave or an enemy? Or would you rather give them a galaxy where they are respected for their strength and loved for how they use it to help others?" The Emperor stared at her. No one had ever asked him that question before. As the day went on, something strange happened. The Zephyrians stopped running away when they saw the Kythera guards. They began to approach the Emperor himself, thanking him for bringing the humans who were helping them. For the first time in his long life, Emperor Vexithran saw conquered people look at him without hate or terror. They looked at him with gratitude, because his decision had brought help instead of more destruction. And for the first time, the Emperor began to understand what Captain Jake Morrison meant when he talked about the power of choice. The Kythera flagship was massive inside, with corridors wide enough for 3 humans to walk side by side. The walls were made of black metal covered with sharp decorations that looked like bones and claws. Red lights cast strange shadows everywhere, and the air felt thick and warm. Captain Jake Morrison walked beside Emperor Vexithran, while Dr. Lisa Parker, Security Chief Dana White, and Chief Engineer Sam Rodriguez followed behind. Kythera guards surrounded them, their bioluminescent patches glowing with steady orange light that meant they were alert and ready for action. "The first test is the hunt," the Emperor explained as they entered a huge room. "Every Kythera must prove they can track and capture dangerous prey. This shows that we are true predators." The room was like a jungle, but darker and more dangerous than any forest on Earth. Strange plants with sharp leaves grew everywhere. The air smelled of decay and something that made the humans want to run away. Sounds came from the shadows, growling, clicking, and the noise of claws on stone. In this environment live the Sketh, the Emperor said. They are fast, smart, and deadly. They have killed many young Kythera who were not careful. You must capture one alive and bring it back here. You may not use weapons that kill from far away. You must face it with your own hands and courage. The Emperor's guards brought out a cage with thick metal bars. Through the bars, the humans could see a creature about the size of a large dog, but much more frightening. It had 6 legs, each ending in razor-sharp claws. Its skin was covered in spines that dripped with poison. Its eyes glowed red in the darkness, and when it opened its mouth, rows of needle-like teeth reflected the dim light. "This is what you must catch," the Emperor said. "I will hunt one first, to show you how it is done." The Emperor moved into the artificial jungle with surprising grace for something so large. His scales changed color to match the shadows, and he made no sound as he walked. The humans watched on a screen as he tracked the Sketh through the dangerous plants. When the Emperor found his prey, he attacked with brutal efficiency. His claws flashed out, grabbing the creature before it could react. The Sketh fought back, its poison spines cutting into the Emperor's scales. But his thick armor protected him. Within minutes, he had the creature trapped in a metal net. "Now, it is your turn, human," the Emperor said when he returned. "Show me how your species hunts." Jake entered the jungle alone. The other humans watched nervously as he disappeared into the shadows. Unlike the Emperor, Jake moved slowly and carefully. He did not try to hide or change colors. Instead, he sat down on a fallen log and waited. "What is he doing?" one of the Kythera guards asked. "He is not hunting. He is just sitting." Dr. Lisa Parker smiled. "He is thinking." After an hour, Jake began to move. But instead of stalking like a predator, he gathered fruits and plants from the jungle floor. He built a small pile of food and sat beside it, making soft clicking sounds with his tongue. "Has he gone insane?" the Emperor asked. "The Sketh will attack him if he does not defend himself." Soon, a Sketh appeared from the shadows. It moved carefully toward Jake, its red eyes fixed on him. The creature expected the human to attack or run, but Jake just sat still and continued making gentle sounds. The Sketh came closer, attracted by the food Jake had gathered. When it was close enough, Jake slowly reached out and began to scratch, behind what looked like the creature's ears. The Sketh made a purring sound and relaxed. "I do not understand," the Emperor said, watching the screen. "The Sketh should be trying to kill him. All creatures want the same basic things." Jake's voice came through the communication device. "Food, safety, and comfort. If you give them these things instead of threatening them, many will choose peace over fight." Jake gently picked up the Sketh, which had fallen asleep in his arms. He carried it back to the starting point like a person carrying a sleeping cat. The Kythera guards stared in amazement as he placed the unharmed creature in the cage. "Impossible," the Emperor whispered. "No one has ever captured a Sketh without violence." The second test was called the Endurance of Fear. The humans were taken to a room filled with everything designed to create terror. Loud sounds crashed from hidden speakers. Holographic monsters appeared and disappeared. The floor moved under their feet, and the walls seemed to close in. Security Chief Dana White took this test. She was a strong woman with short red hair and green eyes that stayed calm even when the room tried to scare her. As the test began, terrible images flashed on the walls. Sounds of screaming and roaring filled the air. The floor tilted and shook. The Emperor and his guards watched Dana carefully. Most Kythera who took this test either ran in panic or attacked the illusions in fury. But Dana did something different. She sat down in the center of the room and closed her eyes. "Fear is just a signal," she said calmly, while monsters roared around her. "It tells us that something might be dangerous, but it does not control us unless we let it." Dana began to breathe slowly and deeply. She opened her eyes and looked directly at each terrifying illusion. Instead of running or fighting, she studied them like a scientist studying interesting specimens. "These are not real," she explained to the watching aliens. "My brain knows they are not real. So while I feel the fear, I choose not to let it make my decisions for me." She stood up and walked calmly through the chaos to the exit door. The Emperor's guards looked at each other with confused, flashing patterns on their scales. The third test was called Strength of Will. Dr. Lisa Parker faced this challenge in a room where she had to solve puzzles while painful lights flashed in her eyes and loud noises tried to break her concentration. But instead of fighting through the distractions, like the Cathara expected, Lisa began to talk to the Emperor about what she was experiencing. "The human brain is interesting," she said, while working on a complex puzzle. "When we face pain or distraction, we can choose to observe it rather than be controlled by it. Pain and fear are information. They tell us about our environment, but they do not have to stop us from thinking." She solved puzzle after puzzle while explaining how human minds worked. The Emperor listened with growing fascination as Lisa described how humans could feel afraid and still act brave, feel pain and still think clearly, feel angry and still choose kindness. "You do not lack fear," the Emperor said when the tests were over. "You do not lack pain. But somehow, you do not let these things control you." "That is correct," Jake said. "We feel everything other creatures feel. We just choose what to do with those feelings." The Emperor stared at the humans for a long moment. His yellow eyes glowed as he thought about what he had witnessed. "These tests were designed to prove predator strength," he said slowly. "But you have shown me something I have never seen before. You have shown me what it means to choose." The airlock door opened with a hiss, and Emperor Vexathron stepped onto the human ship. He had to duck his massive head to fit through the doorway. Behind him came 4 of his elite guards, each one almost as big as their leader. They're black. Scales gleamed under the ship's lights, and their claws clicked against the metal floor with each step. Captain Jake Morrison waited in the corridor with his senior staff. Even though the aliens towered over them, Jake stood straight and smiled. Dr. Lisa Parker held her scanner, trying not to shake as she took readings. The Emperor was even more frightening in person than on the screen. He stood 12 feet tall, with muscles that bulged under his armored scales. His yellow eyes glowed in the dim light. "Welcome aboard the Horizon, Emperor Vexthran," Jake said, extending his hand in the human greeting gesture. "I hope you find our ship interesting." The Emperor stared down at the small human hand. His own claws were longer than Jake's fingers. After a moment, he reached out with one massive finger and touched Jake's palm. The touch was surprisingly gentle. "Your ship is small," the Emperor said. "Your people are weak. Yet you do not fear me. This makes no sense." "Would you like some coffee?" Jake asked. "It is a drink from our world. Many humans find it helps with thinking and talking." The Emperor looked confused. "You offer me food? In my empire, only equals offer food to equals. Prey does not feed predators unless they wish to be eaten." "We are not prey," Jake said calmly, "and you are not here to eat us. You are here because you are curious about us, just as we are curious about you. Come, let me show you to our conference room." They walked through the ship's corridors. The Cathara guards looked around with sharp eyes, studying everything. Their bioluminescent patches pulsed with different colors, which Dr. Lisa Parker realized was probably how they communicated emotions or warnings to each other. In the conference room, Jake had prepared a simple meal. There was coffee, some fruit, and bread. The Emperor sat carefully in a chair that had been reinforced to hold his weight. His guards stood behind him, never relaxing their watch. "Tell me about your people," Jake said, pouring coffee into a large cup. "How long have you traveled the stars?" The Emperor accepted the cup, sniffing the dark liquid inside. The Cathara have ruled this galaxy for 50,000 of your years. We are the apex predators of space. Every world we find bows to us or burns. We take what we need and leave the rest as examples for others. That sounds lonely, Jake said quietly. The Emperor's head snapped up. Lonely? What do you mean? Ruling through fear means no one can be your friend, Jake explained. Everyone either hates you or is too scared to talk to you honestly. You never get to learn about other cultures or share ideas. You never get to discover what amazing things other species might create if they were not afraid. Dr. Lisa Parker leaned forward. Captain, may I show the Emperor something? Jake nodded. Lisa activated a small screen and showed recordings from Earth. The first video showed a young human child playing with a large dog. The dog was bigger than the child, with sharp teeth, but it was gentle and protective. This is how humans relate to predators, Lisa explained. We make friends with them. The next video showed humans swimming with sharks, climbing mountains, and exploring deep caves. The Emperor watched with growing amazement. Your species seeks danger for pleasure? He asked. We seek challenge, Jake corrected. We like to test ourselves and learn new things. Fear makes life interesting. But it should not control us. Chief Engineer Sam Rodriguez spoke up. Emperor, on our world, humans often jump into dangerous water to save people they do not even know. We have stories of humans who died protecting strangers. We call them heroes. The Emperor set down his coffee cup. The liquid inside had turned cold while he watched the videos. Show me these heroes. Lisa played more recordings. She showed firefighters running into burning buildings, lifeguards swimming through rough seas, and soldiers carrying wounded enemies to safety. The Emperor's guards moved closer, their bioluminescent patches pulsing with what looked like confusion. These humans gained nothing from helping, one guard said in the Cathara language. Dr. Lisa Parker's translation device picked up the words. They gained honor, Jake said simply. They gained the knowledge that they used their strength to protect others, instead of hurting them. The Emperor stood up suddenly. His massive frame filled the room and his claws extended. The human crew tensed, but they did not run or reach for weapons. You mock the way of the predator, the Emperor growled. You suggest that strength should serve weakness. This goes against all natural law. Does it? Jake asked, standing up to face the giant alien. You are strong, Emperor. You could kill everyone on this ship in minutes. But what would that prove? That you can destroy something smaller than yourself? Every creature in the galaxy already knows that. The Emperor's yellow eyes narrowed. Then what do you suggest I prove? Prove that you are more than just a destroyer, Jake said. Prove that. The strongest being in the galaxy is also the wisest. Prove that true power comes from choosing what to do with your strength. The conference room fell silent. The Emperor's guards looked at each other, their patches flashing with rapid signals. Dr. Lisa Parker realized they were having an entire conversation in light patterns, discussing what they had just heard. You challenge me, the Emperor said, slowly. I invite you to challenge yourself, Jake replied. The Emperor began to pace around the room. Each step made the floor shake slightly under his weight. His claws left small scratches in the metal where he gripped the walls. Very well, human, the Emperor said finally. You speak of strength and wisdom. You speak of choice and honor. I will test these ideas. I challenge you to prove that your way is better than mine. What kind of test do you have in mind? Jake asked. The Emperor smiled, showing all his sharp teeth. We will hold trials on my ship. You and your crew will face the same tests that all Cathara must pass to prove their worth. If you succeed, I will listen to more of your strange ideas. If you fail, your ship and everyone on it becomes part of my empire. Dr. Lisa Parker felt her heart racing. Alex Carter's hand moved instinctively toward his weapon. Sam Rodriguez swallowed hard, but Jake just nodded calmly. What are these tests? Jake asked. Tests of strength, courage, and predator instinct, the Emperor said. Tests that show what a being is truly made of inside. We accept, Jake said without hesitation. The Emperor's eyes glowed brighter. Good. We begin immediately. Prepare your crew, Captain Morrison. Tomorrow you will learn why the galaxy fears the Cathara. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, watching the stars through the wide viewing window. His ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 months, looking for new worlds and new life. Jake was a tall man with short, brown hair and calm blue eyes. He had been exploring space for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like what appeared on his screens today. Captain, we have 12 unknown ships approaching fast, said Lieutenant Commander Alex Carter, from his position at the control panel. Alex was young but smart, with quick hands and a good eye for danger. His voice stayed steady even though the ships on the screen were huge and looked like weapons of war. Jake walked over to look at the readings. The ships were massive, each, one 10 times bigger than the horizon. They had sharp edges and dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols glowed red along their sides, and energy readings showed they carried enough firepower to destroy a small planet. Try to contact them, Alex, Jake said. Let them know we come in peace. Dr. Lisa Parker looked up from her science station. She was a small woman with bright green eyes and blonde hair tied back in a simple style. She studied alien life and had always dreamed of meeting other intelligent beings among the stars. But the readings on her screen made her worried. Captain, these ships are not like anything in our databases, Lisa said. The energy patterns suggest a very advanced civilization. They also show biological signatures I have never seen before. Whatever is on those ships is big, very big. The main screen flickered, and suddenly a face appeared that made everyone on the bridge take a step back. The alien was huge, with a head that looked like it belonged to a giant lizard. Its skin was black as space, covered in scales that reflected the ship's lights. Yellow eyes stared out from the screen, and when it opened its mouth, rows of sharp teeth gleamed like knives. 2 long claws appeared as it gripped something off-screen. I am Vex Thran the Destroyer, Emperor of the Cathara Empire, the alien said in a voice that sounded like thunder and breaking glass. You will surrender your ship immediately. You will give us all your resources and technology. You will bow before the might of the Cathara, or you will die. No species in the galaxy has ever refused this demand. Do not be the first to try. The bridge fell silent. Chief Engineer Sam Rodriguez stopped working on his controls and stared at the screen. Sam was a big man with strong hands and a kind heart, but even he looked nervous facing this creature. Lieutenant Commander Alex Carter's fingers moved over. His weapons controls, though everyone knew their small ship could not fight 12 warships. Jake stepped forward toward the screen. His face stayed calm, and he even smiled a little. This confused everyone on his bridge, and it seemed to confuse the Emperor, too. Hello, Emperor Vex Thran, Jake said in his normal, friendly voice. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship, Horizon. It is good to meet you and your people. We are explorers from a planet called Earth. We travel the stars to learn about new worlds and make friends with other civilizations. We would be happy to share knowledge with you, but we cannot surrender our ship. Perhaps we could arrange a peaceful meeting instead. The Emperor's yellow eyes grew wide. His mouth opened, showing even more teeth. For a long moment, he said nothing. Behind him, other Cathara could be seen moving around, all of them just as big and scary as their leader. They seemed to be talking to each other in surprised voices. Did you just refuse my demand? The Emperor finally asked. His voice was quieter now, but somehow that made it more frightening. I would not call it refusing, Jake said. I would call it asking for a better way to meet. We are always happy to talk with new friends. Dr. Lisa Parker watched her instruments carefully. The alien ships had stopped moving toward them, but they had not moved away either. The energy readings showed weapons charging, but they were not firing. She had studied many forms of life, and she could tell that these aliens were confused by Jake's response. "Captain," Alex whispered, "their weapons are active, but they are not targeting us. It is like they do not know what to do." Jake nodded but kept looking at the screen. The Emperor was talking to someone off-camera in a language that sounded like growling and hissing. Other Cathara faces appeared briefly, all of them looking shocked and uncertain. "In all the history of my people," the Emperor said slowly, "no species has ever spoken to us this way. Every other race either attacks us in fear or begs for mercy. You do neither. What kind of creatures are you?" "We are humans," Jake said simply. "We are curious about the universe and the life in it. We believe that all intelligent beings can work together if they try. We have learned that fighting usually makes things worse, not better." The Emperor made a sound that might have been laughter, but it sounded more like a growl. "You speak of peace while surrounded by my war fleet. Are you not afraid? Do you not understand that I could destroy your tiny ship with a thought?" Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. Alex was ready at his controls. Lisa was studying her readings. Sam was making sure the ship's systems worked perfectly. All of them looked scared, but none of them looked ready to give up. "Of course we are afraid," Jake said, turning back to the screen. "Fear is normal when meeting something new and dangerous. But being afraid does not mean we have to be enemies. Some of the best friendships start with a little fear and grow into trust." The Emperor leaned back in what looked like a throne made of dark metal and bones. His claws made scratching sounds as he thought. More Cathara appeared on the screen, all of them watching their leader with curious eyes. "You interest me, human," the Emperor said. "I have conquered 1,000 worlds. I have faced warriors who could tear metal with their bare hands and creatures that breathed fire and poison. All of them either fought or surrendered. You do neither. I must see for myself what manner of being you are." The screen went dark. A moment later, Alex looked up from his controls with wide eyes. "Captain, one of their ships is approaching. I think they want to dock with us." Jake straightened his uniform and looked around at his crew. "Well, everyone, it looks like we are about to have visitors. Let us show them what humans are really like." Dr. Lisa Parker checked her readings one more time. The biosignatures were even more impressive up close. Whatever was coming aboard their ship was unlike anything Earth had ever produced. She just hoped that Jake's calm confidence was enough to keep them all alive.